for me, I would drop something like Stranger Things week to week, so people can stay in the conversation week to week, and I've maintained that for years now.
Just like Kanye with Genius, week to week. I'm telling you, we're having the same conversation we had earlier.
Yeah.
You're talking about release strategies,
Yeah.
pacing your releases week to week.
Yeah, you're I'm just waiting on getting the call that Reigns rode off to join Kanye's
To work on Donda 3. Let's all get paid.
Is that what is that? Okay, so yeah, we checked that out. Let's get to some of these later stories here. So this is something that I really wanted to talk about that I thought was going to be like really interesting. Sorry, let me get my bearings around me here. I think this is. There we go.
So I'm not gonna lie to you, I've never seen this show.
The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Yep, never seen it.
No, it's fine. It does not require you to.
Yeah, I haven't read this yet, so this is going to be new to me. Me and the listeners are going to be learning about this all at the same time.
Fair enough. So basically, so this article was an article that came out in lieu of season 4 of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, which just dropped. I believe like within the last couple of weeks. And so basically they were talking about the release strategy for Mrs. Maisel, that it used to be they just drop all the episodes at one time, and it's on Amazon Prime, the show. A great show, by the way. I actually really love this show. It's one of the shows that me and my girlfriend watch together and make sure that we, if I watch an episode or she watched an episode without, if we watch the episode without the other person, we'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? Clean this shit out right now. But it used to be that they drop all the episodes at one time. But with this 4th season, they are changing up the strategy where they're doing sort of like a bi-weekly or 2 shows per week, which I think that's pretty fucking fair. That's a fair agreement. If you drop 2 episodes per week, I mean, I still want to see why you just drop 1 episode per week.
Yeah.
But 2, I think is pretty good, because it's like as soon as you're done with the first one, you're like, and I think they're shorter episodes than what they're not like an hour long. They're, I think, maybe somewhere between 30 and 40 minutes. So I think it's really that's a really interesting strategy to go with 2 episodes, but it's a diversion or they're getting away a little bit from what they used to do, which is drop all the episodes at one time.
Yeah. No, I like fucking
Well, it's a Baltimore
helicopter.
So,
yeah, Dirty Bird in this guy. I like 2. I mean, like I think 1 they could easily. You're right. They could easily do 1. But I feel like 2 is just a little bit sweeter. It's like, hey, episodes 1 and 2, 3 and 4, and then so on and so on.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just feels a little bit nicer. It's like an extra little gift.
Yeah, it's a little cherry on top.
It's like the fortune cookie. When you order your Chinese food, you get the fortune cookie. And it's like, oh, love these. I ordered lo mein, but I got the fortune cookie, and I really enjoy this as well.
Yeah. So as they're sort of talking about this, so there's other shows. So if you're watching on any other various platform, you'll see sort of what we had on screen, which is Euphoria, and then
they do 2 a week.
No, they just do 1 a week.
Okay, I was about to say.
But the idea is that everybody has kind of like a little bit of a different strategy. So Euphoria drops 1 episode per week, right? But that's maybe a little different than some other series like Stranger Things, right? Where they dropped previously, at least they dropped the entire thing at one time. Ozarks, they dropped the entire season at one time until this last season, in which they dropped half the season, and then we're going to conclude with the final part to season 4.
Yeah. What's the first show to really start doing that? Walking Dead.
No. What?
Who did it before?
No, Walking Dead was definitely week to week.
No, well, like remember they would drop like part 1 of season 6, and then they drop part 2. Then they have like the mid-season hiatus or mid-season break.
No. The mid-season hiatus, that is as old as fucking dirt.
Really?
That is old as shit.
Who else did it?
Everybody, because everybody went on a mid-season hiatus. Everybody was forced to. There's nothing else to. I think I'm not sure if it was contractually obligated, but I think it was just literally during the winter, like basically between December and like there's like almost like three kind of. There's between December and I think January/February. In fact,
Like, is that like an industry thing or just
yeah,
like,
it's an industry thing.
oh shit, okay.
Yeah. And then they would do like I think they would call it. I forget what they call it, but it's just like February sweeps or it would be something like that. I forget what month it was, March sweeps or whatever, where they would have like 5-6 episodes, whatever, and then they go on kind of like another little short break, and then finally for like that home
Oh
stretch.
fuck! If you're struggling like boom mic guy, yo, that month is the fucking worst because every year that month comes around, you're like, how am I gonna pay rent this month?
Well, hopefully they take care of you enough where you're not fucking.
You think
worried about
they're
that.
still paying them? The boom mic guys?
They I know. I assume if they're not working, they're probably not getting paid. But I assume they're taking care of them well enough when they are getting paid that it's like, all right, well, this isn't the end of the fucking world. It's like teachers, right? And now they're definitely not paying them enough. But
No. Teachers during the summer, all of them like start selling drugs to the kids or start stripping. Your teacher's like, Mr. Johnson is like, he's like, yo, here's your food. Like, I'll give you 5 stars. It's on Grubhub.
Yeah, we can't be laughing. That's fucked up.
No. They should pay teachers more.
They should definitely fucking pay teachers more. And anybody who's you're working if you work a full-time job, you should be at the very minimum be able to take care of the basic necessities of your life. You should be able to pay if you're paying rent or mortgage or whatever. You should be able to do that, afford your food, have some money left over if you're working a full-time job.
Yeah, and we're speaking here like we're not saying like you should be able to do it, and if you're not, fuck you, you're terrible. We're saying that like that's how it should be in America.
Yeah.
Like you shouldn't be working a full-time job and then another part-time job and still be struggling. Yeah. That is crazy.
But anyways, to get back to sort of the crux of the issue here. So let me do, this is Miles McNutt, who is a
McNutt.
Love it. Who's an author, TV critic. He's a professor at Old Dominion. So he says streaming services are going to need to convince users that one size does not fit all. If they're going to marry the needs of shareholders, new nuances of their content, and the expectations of their users. And he goes on to say something else.
What the fuck does that mean? Why do you use those stupid words? Dude, you can explain that in a simpler way.
Sure.
Without trying to sound smart.
So basically what he's essentially saying is that there are a few different players in the game right now. There's the fans of the show, right, who watch, or the viewers who tune in. And then there's the people who make the show. And then there's like the shareholders of all these fucking, streaming platforms or whatever, right? So he's saying that, look, everybody's going to need to fucking get along here, okay? So we're going to develop a strategy and you're going to watch we have to do a good job at telling the viewer that they can't, they have to get used to all right, just because they're doing week to week over here doesn't mean that we're doing week to week. Maybe we'll drop everything at once. I don't know. You just have to fucking rock with us, whatever the fuck we do, right? Which I think is kind of stupid. I think that you're going to miss out on a lot of opportunities if you just look at it from that perspective. But I respect the way he said that because there's a recognition that something needs to change. For anybody who's listened to this podcast for any amount of fucking time, what have I been saying for years now is that the release strategy, it has to change. So
unless Kanye does it.
Fuck Kanye. But the reason why I say the release strategy has to change is because there could be no greater example than Stranger Things. Stranger Things, when it first came out, hottest show on earth. Everybody was talking about Stranger Things because it just brought up nostalgia galore. Everybody, it felt like something Spielberg would have done. It felt very, if it was like lightning in a bottle, right? In its subsequent seasons, with each season that's come out, people give less and less fucks about Stranger Things. Now, one could argue that it's kind of about the story, that nobody just really gives a fuck about the story anymore. But I've always maintained that it gets hot when it first comes out, and then it disappears because you have no reason to talk about it. Outside of when it actually drops and you binge it, there's no reason for me to think about or talk about Stranger Things. There's nothing that carries over. It's not that powerful of a cinematic whatever to have me be like, oh my God, and this neat thing that they did on Stranger. No, there's nothing like that, right? So to me, and I think they're just going to split it up between like part 1 of the season and then part 2 of the season. But for me, I would drop something like Stranger Things week to week so people it can stay in the conversation week to week. And I've maintained that for years now.
Just like Kanye with Genius, week to week. I'm telling you, we're having the same conversation we had earlier.
Yeah.
You're talking about release strategies, pacing your releases week to week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're. I'm just waiting on getting the call that Reigns rode off to join Kanye's cult.
To work on Donda 3. Let's all get paid.
Is that what he's? Is that? I'm sure that's what fucking any of these sort of Jim Jones and this what is it called? The massacre.
Listen, as long as it's easy and these fabrics are nice, I'm sure I'll wear the uniform.
That's how he lures. That's how he lures all you guys.
Yeah, let's go. I need the new collection.
The promise of the new fabric, right? But you release everything sort of. If you release everything all at once, you stand less of a chance to week to stay in the conversation, which is why Netflix has to have so many fucking shows and content for people, because they simply have to use that to keep people's attention because they release everything at once. So it's like, I'm going to binge it and then never speak of it again and probably never revisit it, you know?
I would never go back and watch
Stranger Things. Like there would be literally no need to do that.
Feels illegal because they're like grown up now. So if you go back and watch old Stranger Things,
I'm not quite sure.
If you've seen it before, you go back and watch it. It's like FBI just kicks in your door and it's like, why are you watching this again? And you're like, yo, I just like the show.
And so the last part to his statement here. Now, this is the part that kind of was really interesting to me. He said, and if anyone is going to win out in that battle, it's the shareholders, which means users are going to need to either accept what they're given or vote with their subscription dollars to create the change they want to see. I thought that was a really curious statement, because what he's basically saying there is that the shareholders are going to get whatever the fuck they want in terms of how they want things to be built out, and people are just going to have to accept that, or they're going to have to stop watching, essentially, and stop subscribing to these services. I think that's a really like archaic way of like looking at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's to think that we're going to let the shareholders guide how this goes, because at the end of the day, the shareholders aren't really the tastemakers. You know what I mean? Like, let me give you an example. So Netflix, a while back, they were talking about perhaps messing with whether you could speed up shows or slow down shows, watching them at like 2 times speed or watching them at normal speed, whatever the case is. And I think it was like pretty widely panned as like, no, nobody wants to fucking do that. Podcast, sure. Audiobook, sure. I'm not gonna fucking speed up The Godfather. That just seems silly to me. And I think they kind of either did away with it or maybe implemented it, but like only in certain places. I don't think they ever like actually like saw it through. So far as I know, I might be stand corrected on that. But that's something that I'm sure that they, like the shareholders or whoever, was like, hey, this might be a great idea. But once they start testing it, it's just like, no, this is a terrible idea. Nobody wants this, right?
Yeah.
That's the way you have to go with whenever you're putting out a product, right? Like you unless you believe your product is just that good, which in the midst of this streaming wars, I don't think Netflix has that big of the pie, because the greatest show that they had on Netflix wasn't a Netflix show. It was The Office, and NBC definitely took that shit right back.
Yeah.
So I don't think Netflix has the leg to stand on to just say, hey, whatever, we put out the content, you either like the way we put it out or shut the fuck up.
When you take away that like licensed content, right? Those like classics that every streaming service had one of them, whether it was Friends or The Office or like Seinfeld or whatever. When you take away those and you focus only on like who's making the best original content, I feel like Netflix is a clear winner there.
I'm not sure if that's true.
I can't think of one Hulu original show that I've been like, yo, this is the one.
I'll be Handmaid's Tale.
Fuck him. I watched 3 episodes. I'll never watch any more. Handmaid's Tales is not better than like the Ozarks, right? I think the only network that might be able to compete at a high levels like HBO, just because they're so like they've been around forever though. They've got The Wire, they've got Game of Thrones, and
But again, like
Successions or whatever.
outside of like so what I'm trying to say is Netflix doesn't do original content that well to just say fuck everybody else. And I'm not even saying that they're even saying like, oh well, we're just going with whatever the shareholders tell us. But I'm saying that this strategy that he's talking about is kind of silly. Even when you look at Netflix, which is arguably the most well-known streamer.
yeah,
I don't think that they can just rely on, like, they're not producing that good of content to be like, we'll just do whatever the fuck we want to do and whatever the people want, be damned.
two questions.
Like Ozarks ain't that fucking good.
Yeah,
for
two
them to say that
questions.
shit, yeah.
Which streaming service, like if you could get a job at any one of them, and you could be like, in terms of like content development or whatever, right? You're the director of content development. Which network would it be?
Like which streaming platform?
Yeah, streaming platform.
Easy. Apple TV.
Apple?
100%.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, probably bigger budget.
I can do literally whatever the fuck I want.
Nice. Now, if you had to pick only one streaming service to watch for the next 10 years, which one would it be?
Probably HBO.
HBO?
Yeah. They produce the like, they hit more than they miss always.
Okay. I like how your answers were different streaming services and for clearly different reasons.
Yeah. No, Apple TV, they haven't really done anything as of yet. I mean,
C was great.
I just talked about Swan Song, so that was good. Obviously, it's a movie and not a show, but they produce okay content, but not good enough.
But
content
there's so much more coming. I feel like you can just tell like Apple has a lot of. Again, I thought C was great. The morning show.
And after thinking about morning show, I don't know if that was good so much as it. The acting on it was really good.
Yeah,
and I don't think it was that good of a show though.
Is it like Breaking Bad good? No,
but that's what I'm saying. I'm not.
But
if you're asking me about like who's hitting on all cylinders here for like the next 10 years, I'm gonna have to bank with HBO. They gave me Game of like every. Let's compare them to music, right? Their HBO is like the Jay-Z, right? Whereas Apple TV might be who's somebody on like a very
Apple TV is like
tier, like a Meek
Logic
Mill
or something. Okay,
Logic.
I mean, all of his albums went platinum. I don't know.
Or somebody who's like, yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
But he ain't Jay-Z. It's just
fair.
Let's make it obvious.
That's
here,
fair.
So I can't say Netflix because Netflix, honestly, outside of a couple of their shows, I don't know if I bang with their original content like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I don't know. To be honest, if I could work for any network, it would be Apple TV too. I just feel like that'd probably be the most like, let's push boundaries. If I have to watch anyone, it would be Netflix. I just feel like they just have the most shit right now. They have a lot of good old shit. They're still coming out with new shit. And then they've got like all of the like the docu-series. And like really I think where Netflix is still winning is comedy. Like no one's beating Netflix.
They still have and we're gonna talk about that.
I mean, it leads us right into the next thing, actually. But I feel like whoever has comedy, especially like original, like Chappelle's and the fucking Michael Che's and the Ali Wong's and whoever else is coming out with a big net special, always going to be on Netflix.
Yeah.
Until another network gets comedy or something bigger, like you
think comedy steers things?
Yeah, I mean that's where Netflix started. Netflix wanted to be like the king of comedy, right? Like here's where you go for funny, right? And until another streaming service gets,
I mean HBO, right? Like they have these, like they used to be Netflix when it came to having.
Yeah, I mean, Eddie Murphy and Chris Rock specials, bigger and blacker, blah blah blah. But as of late, if you're a comedian, you want the Netflix
for sure. Yeah, that's really interesting that you think that is sort of the center, the focal point of who is crowned champion of the streaming wars.
Yeah, I know that's it for me. Like I love comedy. Like it's probably comedy and just like I would say comedy, action movies, and then like docu-series are like probably the number one thing I go for. Not as much like TV shows. And as long as Netflix has comedy, like I'm always gonna go Netflix.
Yeah. Well, let's cruise right into that conversation about comedy to put a button on that the series release strategies. Look, a very long story short, I think you got to go where you're. If you wait to go to where your audience is at, you're going to find yourself irrelevant in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
Because it really is just about holding and maintaining the audience's attention. And if you find yourself doing shit that you're like, I don't give a fuck what the audience thinks, they'll like whatever I give them. Okay, well, we'll see at the unemployment line.
Quibi.
Yeah.